Hi, here's a wee story for the past again. It's concerning David's loan when I was wee. Most of it I can remember, but it definitely is in my lifespan because that wee car there is the giveaway. That is the old Cortina. I had one of them. But this was the top of David's loan. I think that's Dawson Street there. Down at the end there were flats, a tenement building, Girder Street, then the swing park as we know it, and Hog Street. It gives you an idea of where we are. This was the top end. Now I can remember as a laddie, there was one of these that converted into a chip shop where you could go in. This was supposed to have been the living room and the bedroom was at the back. Toilet was at the back as well. Well, toilet was outside. You used to go in here at the door and there was a counter. You'd make your order, fish supper or whatever it is. Then they'd go through the back and make it. That was the beauty in the old days. When you got fish suppers and so on, they were made in front of you. You had to wait in the queue till it was ready. Not like some shops nowadays, some mind you. They put them in that sort of dryer above the fryer. Once they're taken out of the fryer, they put in a dryer at the top, and there's a sort of lamp there. It's supposed to degrease or, the fish or the steak pie or whatever. But the problem in the past, they used to leave them in there too long. So when you got home with a steak pie supper or something, you found it hard. And you could probably bounce it off the bloody floor. You know what I mean? But I remember this place very well now. A lot of wee things come back, and you do remember them. But that's the top of David's lawn. Of course, as you can see, they've got electric light here. When I was wee, these were all gas lights, as I mentioned in an earlier wee clip. But now, where this place stands, it's actually the new community centre at the top of Davies Lawn. This was all demolished, all down here, and this is where I say the new community centre is. But I have an early story concerning over this side, and this gives you an idea what it was like. As you can see, the ground here, the buildings have all been flattened, what I was talking about earlier. This was across the road. Gives you an idea of what the wee sort of houses were like. Now there's a giveaway. Remember that wee place? That used to be a wee shop. Dawson Park School, the old Dawson Park School is over the back there. We used to come along here, that's Waverley Street. As I say, that used to be a wee shop where we used to get our sweets and that before we went to school. I see now it's all been renovated. That was a part of the wee cottage next door, and they've done it out lovely. I think it's a couple of bedrooms or something they've added on instead of the shop. They've converted it because it did lie empty for years. Very nice it is. But if you look closely, see this here in the background? That's the BA, the British Aluminium Company, as we once knew it. And the giveaway, can you remember the tower, the big water tower that used to be at the side of the BA? That's the giveaway. But I have a wee interesting story to say about this part here, this cottage here. I'll now be slide here. Let's see if I can make it a bit clearer. You see what I mean now? There's the wee shop. You can vaguely see the tower there. This is Waverley Street. Now in this wee cottage here, I believe his name was Hamilton. And I used to come, when I came to Bainsford School, when I came out, he had a wee garage round the side. and he converted it into a wee workshop. He had a car and a trailer, and sometimes he'd leave the doors open in his wee workshop, and I'd stand there and watch him. Well, I got used to me standing there. Sometimes he'd give me a wee drink of juice, that sort of thing, and tell me what he was doing. And he made a very interesting thing in those days. Most of us in those times, we liked to see how things were made and how they worked. So if they broke down, we could fix them, if you understand what I mean. But this was a manual thing he did. And this is what he made. Fireplaces. Now, these were kind of new on the market then in those days, because you never got a fireplace like that with the council. Now, I used to sit and watch him make these. He'd make a mould, then he'd put metal inside, metal rods, then he'd fill inside the mould with concrete. He'd allow it to dry, and it would be the same for the hearth, a separate mould for that. Once it's dried, he'd then stick on tiles, then grout them obviously. And it was the same here. I watched them doing it many times. Now that's only one sort of model. There was umpteen different designs, and it was great to see him doing everything marked out to the inch, or nowadays a centimetre, whatever. Every tile matched in perfectly. As you can see there, that's what he made, and that's what he started selling. That was the chap Hamilton in that wee house. But mind you, the council houses didn't have fires like that. This is what they had, similar to these. Can anyone remember them? In the bedrooms, I know in Cross Street for a start, this part here, the middle bit, that would be what would be installed in your bedrooms. I know that for a fact because that's what we had in Cross Street. In the living room, we had something similar to this, a bit bigger. There were tiles down, and this was all black cast, as you can imagine. But we also had, if you can imagine a gallon tin upside down, black, made of this cast, there used to be one at each side of the fire. And of course, if you had a fire on, they'd heat up. So you could put a teapot on there, keep your tea warm, or a kettle at the side, because sometimes you used to heat the kettle on the fire, believe it or not. That's what happened in the old days. And of course, we used to have a fork there. I guess you know what the fork was for. Nowadays we have toasters, 4 sliced toast, you put them in, press the button. In those days we had a big fork. And we stuck it through a slice of bread and we held it at the fire. Then when it got brown at one side, we turned it around and put it back in the fire. We also used to make roast tatties. Obviously, when you put a fire on, the coal, it'd go black smoke. You had to wait till it was red hot cinder, so to speak. And then you'd put a tatty in and wait till it went black. And that was your roast tatties. They used to say the skin, when you took them out of the fire, it was thick, black, like charcoal. But a lot of them used to eat that. And I'll tell you one thing, it didn't have cleaner teeth. But that's the kind of thing they had in Cobblebray, Cross Street and all the. That's when the houses were built. Of course, nowadays, they've went back to what Mr. Hamilton made. But there's a wee story for you. Any comments on that? Has any of your homes still got these? Because if you have, they'll be worth a fortune.